guys, I think my microphone is a little broken, but I want to talk about the attack on Yemen and how that there's a law that I looked up a few months ago, and I think maybe it should be changed or maybe taken away. So it was called the Patriot Act, and it was after 9/11. And so what it did is it allowed the Secretary of State, which at the moment is Marco Rubio. So whoever the Secretary of State is, it's made it their job to decide who these terrorist organizations are. And so I think that's why you had the Houthis being attacked about the day before yesterday, and so that's why, like, according to this law, at least, it made it so that this strike was legal. So it should be the Congress's job to declare war on someone, and so, like, this Patriot Act, and I think it may not be the only loophole act to where that there are some exceptions here where the president of the United States, which is at the moment is Donald Trump, can be the one that's responsible to order these attacks, and there's 48 hours time period where Congress has to be notified after the fact of the attack, which the attack on Yemen is an example of that. And so here's what the problem, I think, is to where with the Houthis in particular, and I mean, I don't think that's the only terrorist organization that's been designated that way under this act. The problem is that you have three people at the top of the government, which is the Secretary of State and the Vice President, which is basically sharing the duties of the president as well. Anyways, you had an executive order that went out within the last 2 months, and designating the Houthis as a terrorist organization, and that the problem with that is it seems like these terrorist organizations, whoever is in charge, if it's the Secretary of State, they're essentially saying that because anyone that is in these terrorist organizations does not have the right to live, and so that any of these types of strikes are justified. And I think with the Houthis in particular, you have the same situation to where they're trying to make some blockades for people trying to go through the Red Sea, which is important shipping route. You had the same thing under Biden, to where the Houthis were declared a terrorist organization, then they took it back. Okay, and so now all of a sudden, within the last 2 months, there's an executive order that went out that made them once again designated as a terrorist organization. And so there's no oversight. Like, you have three people that basically can send the order to kill anyone that they want, without the oversight from Congress. And the intent with the Patriot Act, which is being abused, consulting Congress first, and so these organizations that are designated terrorist, there's militant groups in the Middle East, okay, that they. I'm not saying all of them have been designated as terrorists. What I'm saying is it's a different type of culture from the West. So in the West, you have a country, and that country has a military. So like, the United States has a military, France has a military, United Kingdom has a military, like that. But in the Middle East, it's a lot different. So for example, like with the Houthis, you have they're within the country Yemen, and so they are the they're the non-official government of the entire country of Yemen, but they do control one city in Yemen, and you got some other groups like this, which is another example would be the Taliban in Afghanistan, also Hezbollah in Lebanon, and a lot of times these militant groups, they might even have a bigger military than the official government of the country that they're inside of. And it is really a lot of varying to whether or not some of these guys are doing bad things, but some of them are doing, drug trade, but there's a variance of like some of these guys are doing really bad things, so okay, there's not so bad, right? And so, I don't think just doing a blockade means that you deserve to die. And if it does, at least Congress should have been consulted. But I mean, definitely that Patriot Act is a blueprint for a pattern of reckless behavior, for extremely dangerous, potentially power, concentrated in the hands of 3 people, and 30 people have been killed in that attack. I don't think you want anyone to die if you can help it. So it's a little bit of a change in the way that the United States is no longer the only powerful military in the world, and so it's not only an ethical issue, it's also an issue of that we've been bullying people, and before we've been able to get away with it more easily, and in the future I think it's going to be less easy to get away with it. So it's also a call to be humble and to be more receptive of the plight, for example, of Gaza people. They deserve to have their collateral damage minimal, which I think is the reason for the blockade in the Red Sea in the first place. So anyways, I just was thinking about these things this morning, because this act that I read is just